Hi everyone, welcome to this reading. I actually started recording this, then I realized that my dog's was in here sawing wood and I had to move her over to her pen. So I can't take a reading seriously and have that happening the whole time. It's just so cute. You'll still probably hear her in the background though if you turn it up loud enough, because she snores like a grown man. Oh, so cute. Okay, so where was I? Let's go back to the beginning. Okay. So I have this Memories of Atlantis card. I have the Star Mother card. Now, here, I'll show you guys this so you can look at it. Memories of Atlantis, Spiritual Acceleration, Progress, Technology. Okay. And then we have this one, Star Mother, How Can You Mother Yourself? So you guys might get something from those meanings. And I am actually taking the meaning of this card, but this card is hitting me just a little bit differently. Well, I guess it really isn't. What we have here is we have the father, we have the mother. And on one hand, we have this like beautiful crystalline sort of oceanic energy. And then on the other one, we have this almost like fjord. It's like where that oceanic energy comes inland and it bears fruit in some ways. So there's in this card, it's like I can't tell if it's a sunrise or a sunset, so it's almost like twofold. It's like the consciousness, our sun, is descending into the underworld, right? When it's on the other side of the earth, and it's bringing consciousness into unconscious spaces. This is what happens when we mother ourselves, right? We're basically taking the time out to say, these things wounded me in the past, and I didn't have this energy in my past, so let me give this energy to me now that I'm conscious of this. And that's what's happening. I feel that whoever this message is for, you've taken some time out to really mother yourself, to give love to that inner child, because that's what stands between the father and the mother, is the inner child. And when we heal that inner child, in a lot of ways, our own internal masculine and our own internal feminine, they start to heal as well. It's like the inner child is really that balancing point. And this is speaking to me about co-creation. So there's a heavy element of manifestation energy that's coming through this for me, just because we have this water coming into this fjord, and all of a sudden the roses are starting to bloom. And in alchemy, the roses are the symbol of the work. So this is a very heavy like manifestation space here. It doesn't mean that someone is actively, effectively manifesting. It's that somebody is understanding that a co-creation is taking place. They understand that they're co-creating with the universe. So, even if you feel like, oh, I haven't been successful, that's okay. You seem to understand this concept. And it's interesting because it's interesting to me that it's not a concept that isn't spoken about more outside of like the woo spaces, right? We have a lot of like manifestation coaches. We have a lot of like spiritual people talking about manifestation. It's very interesting to me that the idea behind that isn't spoken about more, especially with what we know about the subconscious mind from neuroscience, things that are discussed by therapists. I'm very surprised that we don't understand this concept more as a culture, given that it's two very important fields to our society actively speak about, not maybe in the language of, but the same idea. And the idea is that your beliefs create things. Your beliefs basically shape, not create things. I think that's kind of like misleading, but your beliefs actively shape the life that you lead. Through decisions, through things that you accept, through, it does branch into the magical even. And there's something very powerful about that when we can embrace that space and we can understand that. That's where we really step into that role of the magician. And something also very interesting happens when people step into that space. When they work that space for long enough, they realize how powerful the inner child actually is, right? In a lot of ways, just like Atlantis is the fallen kingdom, the inner child is the fallen heir. So there's this beautiful sort of emergent energy that's coming through in this, where somebody is starting to have their eyes opened into how powerful that child actually is. Priestess, how are you being called to step up and lead? And I'm kind of taking this as the inner child card. We can think of it as the priest or the high priestess, the tender to the divine, right? It's like it's the mouthpiece through which the divine energy speaks into this world and creates things. And I feel that someone, whoever this message is for, there's been like a very powerful transformation that's recently taken place. And because that powerful transformation has recently taken place, you are starting to see your own power manifest in several ways. Maybe it's manifesting in like your spiritual life, but it also feels to me like it's manifesting in the 3D. So for example, making better choices for yourself. Maybe you always settled for a certain like pay level, right? And I know people get really weird about talking about money when they're talking about spirituality, and that really kind of hints to a lack, because we require money to survive. Money is the energy of abundance, and abundance is spiritual energy. So like, it's not about greed. There's two different things. Money doesn't have to equal greed. The fact that people think that money equals greed is a lack. That's a lack wound. So this is about being able to receive from the universe so that you are supported. In order to be supported, we have to pay our bills, right? We have to pay our rent. We have to pay for food. We have to pay for a car payment, or whatever it is that you need in your existence. That's what abundance is. And this is where somebody is starting to kind of like come together with that energy and not view it as evil anymore, right? It's people do evil things with things, but the thing itself isn't evil. And this is where someone starts to empower themselves a little bit more. Until we kind of heal that relationship with money. I don't know why I'm going on the money thing, so that must be what it is for this particular reading for a lot of people. And I'm not saying that has to be your story, right? We'll move through this. It's just for the majority of people, I think that this must be a lack wound that had to be like remothered in a lot of ways. Oh, okay, I just heard not necessarily with money, but it's receiving. So, and a big part of receiving is being able to accept help financially, being able to receive more finances. In our beliefs, if, for example, we don't believe that we're worthy of that receiving, or we have a bad relationship with money, we may always settle for jobs that don't necessarily pay the bills or pay enough for us to be able to live comfortably. And we may not even put forward the effort to find those things because we have the belief that we can't find them, right? I don't have the skills, or I don't have this, or I don't have access to it. And the I can'ts and I don'ts are very, very pervasive and persuasive storylines that we as people gravitate towards. And it's another way to keep safe, right? That's one of the functions that those storylines provide. I think that whoever's message this is, you've released that storyline. You've understood that just because you want more money so that you can be comfortable in life, which really having that comfort, it's the same as like, in the past when people lived in monasteries, they had people support them. That was money in some form, right? Whether it was donating to the monastery, or somebody bought the food and donated that to the monastery, or if it was taken from people's taxes, like there are systems in place that would support people to pursue their spiritual side. Not receiving that support from your community, you're not receiving that support from other people, so you have to make money. When you get okay with that, that wound, when you start like repairing that wound, that opens up your heart space. Because what is the heart space? The heart space, people say it's love or money, but it's not really those. It's giving and receiving. It's the energy of giving and receiving. We give and receive love. We give and receive time and attention. We give and receive money. We give and receive items. We give and receive, I don't know why love letters came through. So maybe someone here, like you're working on a love letter, or you and a partner, you exchange love letters back and forth. Maybe you've experienced that as being like very healing to you. So giving and receiving, right? The sharing, because this is coming in a co-creative space. This is what you give and receive into the universe. Taking that lens off of those particular beliefs, because you've remothered yourself, it allows you to put out the energy that's actually inside of you, what that inner child was meant to be. So you can think of it as, for example, the inner child is like, deep inside of you, and it has to project energy through the layers of beliefs that you apply to it. And those layers are what manifests. So someone here, you've remothered yourself and you've taken those layers away so that inner child can show through like freely. And as you are, this is why I'm saying I feel like things are starting to change in the 3D. Maybe making the decision to be in a better relationship. Maybe making the decision to not be in any relationships at all right now as you discover this part of yourself. Maybe it's making the decision that you need better friends. Maybe it's making the decision that you need to isolate for a little while to really figure things out. Maybe it's the decision that, I've isolated for too long and I'm not happy here, so I need to go and I need to find a different way. Like I said, I think there's a dramatic transformation that's taking place for whoever this message is for. And it's because this inner power that someone has is no longer being filtered through those lenses. I keep being brought back to the lack thing. So I think that that's a major part of the energy that someone had to heal. Lack of love, lack of resources, lack of finances, lack of value even. The one thing I would say about the priestess is, in some ways, it's like she holds the highest value, right? Because even the emperors listen to her. They wouldn't listen to their own wives. Some of them, the wives of emperors, they did have some sway in some places, but but they always listened to the high priestess. They always listened to that oracle, right? They always went and they sought the advice of, and maybe they didn't like that advice and they wouldn't take heed, but they'd learn their lesson. And so this is really the embodiment of the High Priestess, is, you know, the High Priestess being this inner child when they're in their power, when they're not being suppressed in that, like, that, you know, all you are is a child, or you have to wait until, when they don't have those storylines placed on them on a soul level. I'm not talking about your literal children. On a soul level, this is where it's like both the mother and father, they listen. And because they understand, wow, like this little creature knows something, this little being knows something that I don't know. This is where we have like the merging of the three start to happen, right? And something very powerful and profound happens when that takes place. Okay, let's see. The message, the messenger. We have the Knight of Ghosts. This is the Knight of Cups. And when I see the Knight of Cups in context to like psychic abilities or the spiritual, it's almost this feeling of like an energy that emerges from deep within, that delivers a message. It carries a message. It has something to offer. It's like a psychic space that has something that's pulled into its field. So I think that someone here, this message is kind of coming through, not just to like explain what's been taking place for you in your own healing work, but it's like how that's affecting you spiritually as well. Almost like a manifest of like spiritual abilities that's coming through. You may even have like a situation right now where you're having some sort of intuition, and there may be a proclivity not to necessarily to trust that intuition. This feels a little bit like it's confirmation for somebody to say, trust that intuition, right? Trust what it is that you're kind of getting about whatever this situation is that you may be thinking about right now, because you're operating out of a space that's a little bit more aligned to the true self. If this reading is resonating with you, I feel that Leo season, from the time that you watch this, whatever Leo season proceeds at, I feel like this is going to be an important time for you, okay? Snakes are also important to whoever this message is for, as a symbol. So it may feel like, again, that transformation, that heavy transformation. But it's not really transformation. Again, it's that releasing of the layers. It's like shedding of the layers, becoming slightly different each time. Okay. And also something about the primordial knowledge. Primordial knowledge. This is what's emerging from that psychic space. It's almost like getting in touch with the fourth aspect. The fourth aspect for me, I call it the observer. It's almost like an abyss point within the self. And it's like mask is the shadow. So, okay, yeah. So we have this, right? And then you see the mask on that ghost. It's like that is sort of like the seat of the true consciousness, the true self. There's something also about chamomile flowers that's coming through right now. Oh, I didn't even realize. So if you're new to my channel, I get symbols listed out sometimes, and when that happens, if the symbols resonate with you, pay extra attention. If they don't resonate with you, it doesn't mean that it's not your reading. It's just that for those who it does resonate for, pay extra attention. I'm seeing like a lapis lazuli, like geode. Like half of a geode, this lapis lazuli or something. I don't know. It's very blue. It's very blue. Okay. And I'm seeing like a rose of Jericho. I'm seeing an uncut beeswax candle, meaning there's two still tied by the wick. Okay. Something about umbrellas being a symbol. Like a synchronistic symbol right now for somebody also, umbrellas. And I don't know why, but that's being presented to me in bat wings. Like it's because first the imagery of a bat came through. I didn't feel that bat was the symbol. It was the shape of the wing. And I was like, oh, that looks like an umbrella. And then literally like I'm looking all around the room and that's standing out to me now. Even in this deck, as I'm looking at it, it's almost like an umbrella. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Okay. Oh, and the crescent moon. the crescent moon as a synchronistic symbol right now for somebody. Okay, so we have this sort of, it's almost like clairsentient knowledge, right? It's starting to boil up for somebody. And I feel like somebody, if you were to locate it in your body, it's almost like it's coming from like that stomach space, the lower chakras, not necessarily as high as the solar plexus, so it could be for somebody, but it's more like that lower stomach area. It's like I just feel it in there. Trust that, right? Trust that. That's kind of the confirmations coming through inside this message. Okay. Being told to take one more card from this. Solar light upgrade, solar plexus chakra, inner fire, and willpower. As we lean into trusting our intuition more, right? When we really acknowledge and observe that, that's how we honor ourselves. That's how, we go from mothering ourselves to then we become like the person that's actually like worshiping self, honoring self, not like an egotistical way, but the understanding that you are the connection point of the divine. You are the divine, right? And when we start to give ourselves that sort of honor and that sort of understanding, this is where our solar plexus really explodes, and in a very positive way. It's like that beautiful radiant energy, not the energy of like the negative ego or the energy of like having a lot of pride. It's like the lion in all its glory. So this is where we become extremely powerful and we become extremely in tune. Not only are we giving and receiving and co-creating with the universe, but we're also creating and generating as a force. And so this is what someone is starting to experience inside of their life. This also is looking a little bit like the Wheel of Fortune to me. So there may be some rapid changes that are taking place in response to this. Again, I did say that there was a transformation coming through. Someone here might be working, I don't know why this is what's coming through right now, but it is, someone might be working with like the idea of like the mansions of the moon. And one of the things that I think is really important as the solar plexus expands and as we're listening to that lower stomach sort of intuition and honoring the self by listening to that spiritual energy, right? Because we go through like this layer, it's like this process where we honor the 3D self as we heal, where, we start to take better care of ourselves. We start to do things for ourselves that maybe we didn't do before. Then there's a spiritual layer also where we start to understand and trust our intuition. And we don't put that pressure on ourselves to be right all the time, but we're still going to trust ourselves. And, it's like learning as we go for some of you. But as we do that and the solar plexus expands because we're just pouring more energy into the self, this is where we really have to establish our boundaries and really, make sure that we learn the lesson about our boundaries, because this is where that sort of I didn't have that card out. I don't know why I thought I had that card out. It's where this sort of like vampiric energy starts to emerge because people understand, wow, like there's something here that I want. It's not necessarily because it's like, oh, their light's so bright, let me take it from them, right? Which I think is how people tend to present it. It's more that, oh, this person, they're so lively and I wish I was like that. Let me, gravitate towards them. I want to learn what they know. But sometimes that can be like a very takey energy where it becomes what you can offer, what you can give, what you can do. So really having those boundaries in place is important. There's a drastic change in a person's vibration at this time, and it's almost like everybody around you is starting to notice it. This is beautiful. This is actually really beautiful energy. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to leave this here. This feels like it's just confirmation for somebody that, yes, you should start to trust your intuition as you're stepping into this space. There's the 12 o'clock alarm to the tornado siren test. So there you go. That's the message. So I will leave this here. And if this resonates with you, please hit that like button. And until next time.